Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel, or welcome here if it's your first time. If you're watching this video, you've probably heard of a little brand called Topping, and they have been around for quite some time. They are known for making excellent DACs and amplifiers, and apparently now they're doing IEMs as well. And in this video, I'm looking at the ArpegEar, I'm not sure how to say that, but I'm just going to call it the ArpegEar Hane. Let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. There is the box for the Hane, and there is a look at the frequency response. This is a tunable IEM. It's got dip switches for tuning. The price of this IEM is about $129. And now inside that box, there's not a whole lot. You get the IEMs, the cable, you get a drawstring pouch, and you get a few ear tips. Nothing out of the ordinary, but you do get these lovely IEMs, and that's what they look like. Pretty sweet, huh? So they've got this blue and black feathery kind of glittery design on the face plates there, and they're nice and small. By the way, inside of here we're looking at a single 10mm dynamic driver, and they're just regular resin shells, but they're pretty small. It's kind of similar in size to the Eiffel Explorer, if you're familiar with that. So I think they look great. I find them very comfortable as well. So I'll put those aside for a moment while we look at the cable. Now the cable has got a fabric sheath on it, a braided fabric sheath, and it's actually pretty good. As far as fabric cables go, this one's really good. It's very supple, and it's also, you know, something interesting about this one. It's 1.5 meters long compared to the standard, which is 1.2 meters. So it's quite long, but it doesn't get tangled too easily. It handles well, and I kind of like it. It's an interesting cable. All right, let's get back to the IEMs. I'll put these little guys down here for our comparisons later. So, oh, how silly of me. I didn't show you the tuning switches, and that's them there. And there are 4 switches, so that means a total of 16 different sound profiles possible. So I'm not going to talk about the different sound profiles too much, but we'll cover it a little bit. So as you can see here, I've got switch 1 on and the other 3 switches off. And what that does, it basically gives the sound a roughly 2 decibel bass boost. Now, if you put both switches 1 and 2 on, you get around 6 decibel boost in the bass. So you can see there's quite a bit of difference there in the low end. And there's also, you can attenuate some of the treble as well with the 3rd and the 4th switches. You can either boost the treble or attenuate it. So pretty cool. But what I'm going to talk about mostly is the default tuning, which is all switches off, and this one here, which is my preference, switch 1 on. Now, you might be aware that Topping is known for making neutral DACs, so I wasn't too surprised to hear how the near neutral the tuning is in the default mode with all switches off. It's a good IEM for purists and people who like their IEMs nice and transparent and uncolored or neutral. But don't discount this one if you do like a bit of added flavor, because you can definitely achieve that with the tuning switches. Unlike some IEMs, the switches here do make quite a difference. And not only that, but many of the available sound profiles are viable. Whereas sometimes, especially with those nozzle screw-in filters, quite often you'll get 3 and only one of them kind of makes any sense. But here you got plenty to choose from. Here is the graph. It looks like that. And let's talk now about the bass. And the bass provides a nice and deep and satisfying low end. It's got excellent control. And like I said, the level of the bass can change pretty dramatically, like up to 6 decibels, depending on how you configure the switches. But, it maintains its characteristics or its character at all times, regardless of how you've got which profile you're using. The bass is nice and authoritative, it's well extended, and with those 1 and 2 switches on, like with that 6 dB boost, it's leaning almost into bass head territory. But if you put it in the default setting, i.e. all switches off, it becomes really precise and very near neutral. It's got good texture, it's got ample punch and presence, and when in the boosted bass mode, there is a bit of bleeding into the mid-range, of course, but it's not excessive, it's not intrusive, and of course, if you don't like it, you can just bump it down a little bit. And the bass is definitely one of my favorite aspects of the Hane. It's very, very well done. Moving on to the mid-range now, and the mid-range, it's a bit tricky to describe with this IEM because of all the possible sound profiles. And, you know, but whatever you do, it always sounds clear, it's always detailed, sounds engaging. Now, some of the switch configurations will bring the vocals more forward, while others will push them back and sort of create a larger perceived space. But regardless, the mid-range is still smooth and refined. It's got excellent clarity in there, and it can change quite a bit, again, depending on the switch setting. Let's talk about the treble, and we've got a slightly boosted core and upper treble, and this adds clarity and definition to the sound. Moreover, it gives precision and sparkle. The extension is good, it's got plenty of air, it sounds nice and open, yet it preserves good note density so it doesn't sound wishy-washy, it doesn't sound scratchy. Like the other core fundamental frequencies, the bass and the mids, the treble can be adjusted with the tuning switches, and in the default mode I found it sort of leaning a little towards harsh on some tracks or recordings, but you can easily remedy that by either adding a little bass lift or attenuating the treble with by turning on the third switch. Alright, and now for the technicalities. The soundstage is wider than it is deep, but it's got good dimensions all around, so pretty nice proportions in the soundstage. It's a nice organized stage. It's kept in order with really good instrument separation and a really good overall resolution as well. It's articulate, it's airy, making it tidy and spacious. Detail retrieval is very good, especially when you've got less bass, and that's sort of facilitated by that slightly lifted yet smooth treble. And positioning and layering within the soundstage is nice and holographic. You get good positioning, so not only good for music but pretty good for gaming too. Right, into some comparisons. The first one will be with the AFL Explorer. Now the Explorer comes in, my douche tuber light. The Explorer comes in at $119. So it's about $10 less than the MSRP of the Hane. And the Explorer has got one dynamic driver and two balanced armatures compared to single dynamic in the Hane. It's got a similar type of shell, as you can see, and fairly similar in size. So Explorer has a thicker and warmer tonality. It's got more bass than the Hane's default tuning, but a similar level of bass if you have the 1100 profile or the switches 1 and 2 turned on. However, the Explorer's treble is more laid back, which gives it a darker overall sound or darker character. And in terms of technicalities, fairly close in resolution, I would say, but I think the Hane slightly edges it out in detail retrieval. And next up, we're going to look at the Let Shure S08. Now, the S08 has got a fuller bass response, especially in the mid bass, and this gives it sort of more bass punch. Hard again to say because of all the sound options that you have with the Hane, but overall, I'd say the S08, it's got fuller, lower mid-range. Its treble is more laid back as well, and combining that, the laid back treble, with the extra bass, that means the S08 has a warmer and a sort of smoother tonality. And thanks to that nimble planar driver though, it's got really good resolution, but the detail retrieval is better on the Hane. All right, so enough of me talking now. Give you another look at the ArpegEar Hane by Topping. And I'll tell you what, for a first product, they've pretty much nailed it. These things are excellent. Just jumped straight to among the top in my sort of $100 to $150 IEMs. It's one of my favorites now. You know what? The sound signature, especially with the switches like that, the sound signature reminds me quite a bit of the IO Audio Velair, and the tuning, they've just done it they've done a very good job. So highly recommended. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, Par Family Audiophile style. If you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button before you go. And until next time, I'll see you later.